by the way. None of these really want to go dormant. Holy moly! Hi, and welcome back. A few weeks ago, I came down here and sort of potted up all of my dahlia tubers. I had a whole bunch of these in storage. I think about 20 clumps of dahlias. I grew some really nice ones last year, but I didn't really have time to store them properly when I dug them up in the fall. So I came down here a few weeks ago noticing that they were getting kind of shriveled up. I just wanted something to put these tubers in that could help maintain a little bit of the moisture and basically prevent them from drying out any further. Since that was a couple of weeks ago, I wanted to come down here and check on them, and thankfully they're all looking really good. There's a few that are slightly shriveled that are still slightly shriveled, but none of them look any worse, so that's something. Now, it is too early to do anything with these right now, but in 2 weeks I will be potting some of them up to take cuttings. There is still some moisture in this mix that I have these in, so I don't need to do anything. I do have two of these crates, 2 Rubbermaid bins, and 1 green, this thing right there. That's 1 small tuber on a clump that is completely shriveled up, but all the rest of them seem fine. What I was worried about was that adding a little bit of moisture to these clumps would make them want to start growing, and I did not want that yet. So now if it starts the process and it takes a couple of weeks to get going, that's actually perfect. But I was a little worried that I would come down here and see a whole bunch of white shoots. There is a little bit of root growth. Now the reason that I'm concerned about growth is that we are going away for a week. Now I film in advance, so by the time you see this I'm probably back or almost back. But going away for a week means I won't be able to come down here and check on them during that time. Having said that though, if they start to grow and there's a few spindly shoots on them, you can cut them off, they'll grow more, but I don't want to exhaust too much of the plant's energy. Now this green bin is open, so I'm likely going to add a little bit more water to this one because it is feeling a little drier than the other one. This poor colocasia is still trying to grow. I'm going to have to cut these shoots off. As is the banana over there, by the way. None of these really want to go dormant. Holy moly! I've got to show you guys this one. Look at the roots trying to grow on that. So this has been in a completely enclosed container. I guess I didn't put enough soil, but I will definitely be doing that. And there is a little bit of mildew on some of these old stems. So I'm actually going to leave these open. I'm going to put some more soil on top of these to bury those roots, but I would overall consider that a really good sign. There we go. This shelf can handle the weight, so that is not much of a concern. And we don't really get rodents down here, but I'm still conscious of trying to keep things up off the floor as much as possible. It is an unfinished basement after all, and you never know. Next thing I need to do is take an inventory of all my seed starting supplies because it is being put to work in 10 days as soon as we get back from our sunny vacation. So for me, seed starting starts with this rack right here. I have 1 large rack and 2 sets of 4 of these LED lights. They're not all installed yet, but I have been starting the process of cleaning them up and getting them hooked on at the proper height for seed starting. Now all of this comes from Amazon. I think I found the first set of lights 2 years ago and they worked really, really well. So at the beginning of last season, I upgraded to another set of lights and I also got this shelf. Now this shelf is fantastic. It's been coated so it is moisture and rust resistant. I don't know about completely rust proof. It's a good heavy duty shelf. I think it was in the $150 range. That's Canadian. If I can find the same listing, I'll link it in the description, but this was a year ago that I bought it now. This is a 4 foot wide by I think 18 inches deep, and that length is fantastic. It's just wide enough that I can slide some trays in this way instead of having them all this way, which means I can fit more in, especially with these green trays I like to use. Now the trays themselves, I have some with holes, some without, and then I have inserts with different sizes of cells in them, and this one's very dirty. So I did clean most of them, but these ones will fit in this way, meaning I can fit a lot more in the shelf than if I had to sit them all that way. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4. If I count the bottom, there are 5 shelves on it, and the top is only about 3-4 inches from the ceiling, so I don't use that. I also made sure that each shelf could hold a couple of 100 pounds, which is important when you have more mature plants and everything's been watered. All that stuff can get very heavy. The lights themselves are LED. They're very lightweight. They don't take up a lot of space. If you can see me pushing this light bulb up though, one thing that I've noticed is after a season, the lights start to bow down a little bit. Now these don't produce a lot of heat. I could probably actually hold them up with something, but what I did at the end of the seed starting season last year is I just stored them upside down. Take the pressure off a little bit. I'm not really sure if that's going to be more of a problem. That's something I'm going to keep my eye on this year. But I really like these because they're LED. They won't produce a lot of heat. They don't use a whole lot of electricity. And what I like most is that they are linkable. So each one can plug into another one. And I seem to remember 16 or something can plug into one outlet. They use so little power. But I have all 8 of mine linked together, or I did last year. There are 2 on top that I don't have set up right now. Those will go here. Now, I'm not going to be using this extension cord. I just brought it in here to test this, but let's see if this works. There is no reason that it shouldn't. Except that it doesn't. Oh, that one works. Now, why doesn't this one work? Because it's not plugged in. Okay. What did I do wrong? Yes, I did this last year. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so they all work. So because I've done these in pairs, I had to plug the bottom 2 into the extension cord, but they all work, and that's all I needed to know for today. But that is something that I'm tempted to test out. So for 2 sets of lights at roughly $100 for a set of 4, and this shelf we're looking at roughly $350, let's say $400 to be safe, because things are more expensive than they were 2 years ago. But this is not an annual investment. So for me, this is completely worth it. I grow thousands of seedlings on this shelf every year. And I'm not sure about the lights, but the shelf is going to be good for ages. Now, this is my shelf of many things. And I have everything in their own space. I have these trays from, if I did this right, the bottom ones have holes in them, and the top ones are the ones with no holes because we are indoors at this point. It's February. So I'm going to get at those first. These are all the large standard 1020 size trays, and they are all reused. I bought almost nothing. I really try to buy no plastic in the garden. I mean, there's some things you just can't avoid, like that giant bale of Pro Mix that I had. That's obviously in plastic. But when you can't avoid things 100%, you can cut down in some places. And trays and seed starting things is one place that I try to do that. That green one that I showed you, those I bought because I really liked the sizes. But all of these and all of these pots, these are all things that were reused. I think except for these. These I bought for starting things like onions that I could just mass sow in a thing and then separate later, I think was my thinking for these. So I did buy those, and they do fit neatly into a 1020 tray, and I've been using them for 4 years so far. Some of them are brand new actually. Some of them have never been used. So not bad so far. So anything that I do buy that's plastic, I'll try to reuse as much as possible. Like those green trays, most of them are on their 3rd year. I'm going to try to get at least a few more and basically take care of them so that they last as long as possible, and see if there's any decent non-plastic options when those start to go. So I have my trays, I have all of my pots. Some of this is just farmer's market stuff. Up here I have some domes, those plastic domes that go over the trays. I've got my green trays down there, and then I have some things for house plants too. But that being said, stuff in my way. If you don't want to use pots or cell packs at all, you could get a soil blocker. There is a little bit of learning curve to this thing. I actually have 2 of them. This is a small 3/4 inch blocker. This is your bigger 1 inch blocker. I think there is, no, sorry, 2 inch blocker. I think there is a 1.5 inch blocker that exists. Last time I looked, I wasn't able to find it. These are great. All you need is a flat tray to put the blocks in, and I will be using these shortly. I have a couple videos where I've used soil blockers too from last year. So if you haven't seen what a soil blocker can do, you can go back and look at that. I'll link that at the end of this video. I'll do a soil blocker video from last year. But all you would need is a flat tray. You could use a wooden tray, anything, something reused from your kitchen even, to put soil blocks on. So that's a really good place to start if you didn't want to invest in a whole bunch of seed starting stuff. But for me, I'll be using my soil blocks, I'll be using cell packs, and I'll be using some of those green trays when I get started here. Whoops, my light died, in a couple of weeks. So with that, we are off on vacation to somewhere that did not get 2 feet of snow this weekend, like we did. And I'll get you back here in a week's time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you then.